I can see, but to all the participants of this webinar, very good morning. Unfortunately, we are meeting at a time when the world is on the brink of a pretty serious situation, particularly what we have seen since this morning. But I believe the world also moves on. And I'm delighted that CII has chosen to have this very important subject. Can India become the global leader in the manufacturing sector in this decade as your Manufacturing Conclave 2022 agenda? Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by complimenting CII for the focus they have brought back to manufacturing. Somehow, over a period of time, that focus has been missing in our industrial or in our policy making landscape. Last few years, through the Make in India program and various other initiatives, Prime Minister Modi, leading from the front, has been focusing very deeply and strongly on this sector, on the manufacturing sector. I'm quite confident that India can become a global leader in manufacturing in the next, over this decade. What we need is our self-confidence. What we need is the partnership between government, manufacturing, and our academia, particularly so that we remain ahead of the curve in innovation, modernization, and technology upgradation. In fact, COVID-19 clearly exposed the fragility of global supply chains. And therefore, when we spoke about Atmanirbhar Bharat, while initially we were criticized a little bit, today you find every country in the world talking about Atmanirbharta. You will realize these shifting global supply chains are clearly demonstrating to the world that it's important to be self-sufficient, particularly in areas which are critical, and then work with other countries in areas where others have a more competitive edge, but ensuring that the supply chains are resilient, transparent, rules-based, and work with an organized system within the WTO framework. India, I'm glad, turned this crisis into an opportunity. In fact, what we did with manufacturing of PPE kits, vaccines, sanitizers, ventilators, masks for COVID is truly phenomenal. Similarly, the response we received for the PLI schemes, production linked incentive schemes, in the making of which CII has played a very important role, as some of you may be aware, also gives us confidence that there is a investment appetite and an understanding that India will have to develop further on the manufacturing field. Let us acknowledge we cannot be master of everything. We'll have to identify focus areas, literally following Michael Porter's theory of competitive advantage or David Ricardo's theory of comparative advantage, and identify areas where we need to be present, where we can be competitive and in relation to other countries, capture larger global markets. However, we must also recognize that there are certain critical products. For example, semiconductors. India has launched on a mission mode to promote semiconductor manufacturing in India. We have committed almost $10 billion, 76,000 crores to this mission from the government. And we believe that certain areas will need us to be self-sufficient because otherwise, in the entire value chain of manufacturing, we can suffer very deeply. Similarly, the APIs for the pharma sector. There was a time we were self sufficient in APIs, but over a period of time, we've lost that edge. And God forbid if our suppliers of APIs don't supply, or we have a geopolitical problem, we can be in a severe crisis. And therefore, our entire manufacturing sector's mindset needs to assess these type of areas where there is need for India to be self-sufficient and work with trusted partners, reliable stakeholders in other countries for products where we may not have that kind of a comparative advantage. On our side, we are trying to work through various free trade agreements. The UAE agreement has been welcomed by, I suspect, everybody. I've yet to hear a voice not supporting what we have managed to achieve with UAE, particularly the many firsts, the fact that we now have a permanent safeguard mechanism for the steel industry. We got melt and pour in the country of origin. For the pharma industry, we have got automatic access in 90 days for any product or company which is approved by the US, Canada, EU, UK, Japan, and Australia, which will have immediate access to UAE, and from UAE to many other parts of Africa, of the Middle East, some countries of Europe. So really, opportunities are opening up, but we'll have to work together. As I said on more occasions than one, FTAs are two-way traffics. You have to give and take. It can't be just that I need my market to open up for my product. All markets should open up. But we will not like to open up within India. That doesn't work that way. We'll have to be competitive. We'll have to stand on our own feet. We'll have to focus on our competitive edge. And therefore, this production-linked incentive scheme has largely focused on key sectors to bring competitive scale, get the benefit of economies of scale, to nurture global champions, generate employment opportunities, and collectively make ourselves competitive in these sectors, both domestically and in international markets. I also think the PLI, while in many sectors focuses on larger units, will have a major impact on the MSME ecosystem, as it will create anchor units and suppliers and ancillaries in almost every sector. And the entire value chain will rest on the pillar of MSMEs in India. Incidentally, the idea behind PLI came from industry. It was the scale committee, the steering committee for advancement of localization and employment / exports, led by Pawan Goenka from amongst you, with Mr. Singhal and Seshagiri Rao as members, with CII, FICCI and ASSOCHAM as members, and government only playing the role of a facilitator. We were not interfering or forcing our thoughts on it. Of course, we were working together as a team. Our officers were involved. We had many experts who were involved with the scale committee, and they looked at 24 sectors, right from furniture to robotics. And through those efforts to boost growth in a very holistic and coordinated manner and make India competitive, I believe the PLI story emerged, and going forward will certainly have a significant impact in India's future plans. Ladies and gentlemen, I have also been working in my ministry to strengthen the national single window system. We have, for the first time, been able to bring on board several states, several departments of the union government. And I've just completed reading the latest progress report of the national single window system. And I mean, it's really impressive. On the Know Your Approvals portal, we have about 3,439 approvals listed, 544 at the central level and 2,895 at the state level. We have already been able to get 20 departments of the central government onboarded, 14 states and union territories onboarded, but it's work in progress. The beta version has been launched. As industry engages with this national single window, only then we will be able to expand its scope. Only then we'll be able to know what really are your pain points, what we need to do, what we need to focus on. And if I may share with you, amongst the various comments I've written on this note, one of my comments is, and I'm saying this because I was just clearing this note. They have written to me that they have a continuous engagement with prominent industry and sectoral associations. And I have written that all associations were promising to support. What happened to that? I remember CII also was very enthusiastic, used to always demand a single window. But I think when I'm seeing the numbers of people who are registered on it, of people who are engaging with it, of people who are taking approvals from it, I get a little disappointed. I would urge all of you. There are over 714 participants in this particular webinar also. I would urge all of you that get onto this national single window platform. See it, study it, tell us what could be better. Try to get your approvals, whatever are available on this. Even if you have a live approval, which you already have, I would recommend you get it onto the national single window and get a fresh letter confirming your existing approval. That way, the future will become much easier. We'll start testing all these approval systems. In that, I would urge each one of you to write in, and I hope they have some proper place there where they receive comments. Otherwise, whoever is from my office here will ensure that they have a feedback part in the portal where you write what other approvals you are interested in. What is it that you want us to add to this? What are the difficulties you face? How can we do a job better? And I can assure you, we are committed to create a seamless, simple, and swift approval process. We can only do it when you join hands with us. ताली तो दो हाथ से ही बजेगी, और अगर आप मांगने वाले नहीं बनोगे तो देने वाले का भी उत्साह थोड़ा कमजोर हो जाएगा. मेरा बहुत अनुरोध है आप सबसे कि if you really wish that we are able to succeed in this national single window, we need your participation, your involvement, your very active involvement to be able to make this a success. Incidentally, we have also been working to reduce the compliances. We have tried to simplify and in many cases eliminate the compliances that are required. We have simplified about 24,500 compliances. We've been successful in removing 1,700 compliances, decriminalizing about 750 compliances. I would urge all of you, can you help us to identify more processes that can be simplified or totally eliminated, renewals that can be made longer duration, self-regulation which can replace licenses, self-certification, which can replace the need to go to the labs for every approval. So I think it's something which will have to be a collective effort again. And if we work together, we can do a lot more in this area. The Pradhan Mantri Gati Shakti National Infrastructure Master Plan will become a major supportive element driving smart infrastructure in the country, smart logistics in the country, help us bring down the cost, help us have more coordinated planning and execution of infrastructure. Look at it, to invite our officials to make a presentation on PM Gati Shakti. The Prime Minister has been behind us for many years for this idea. It was such a complex situation to even make people understand what we are trying to do or what the Prime Minister desires. I'm happy that over the last COVID period, our officers sat with BISAC in Ahmedabad, used geospatial mapping in a big way. And today, we have a vibrant PM Gati Shakti with over 360 layers of data which speak to each other through APIs. And to my mind, it's a revolutionary concept never attempted anywhere in the world before. I would urge you all to have a look at it, call BISAG or my ministry to come and make a presentation. You will feel proud about your country. You will feel empowered. And I think you will start demanding that government should allow private sector also to use it, particularly when you're looking at plant locations or new project locations for your investment plans. Friends, while we are working on a very solid program for structural reforms and macroeconomic stability, I always believed our growth story has just begun. We do have international geopolitical uncertainties, as we see today on the Ukraine-Russia crisis. But I'm very confident that India will play an increasingly important role in the revival and restoration of international economies in the years ahead. In the post-COVID world, we're going to see a new world order. And India, though we may be a $3 trillion economy today, we should aspire for very, very bold and aggressive targets. Personally, I think we can still aim for the $5 trillion economy by 2026, but it's not possible unless all of you participate with full gusto in this very, very ambitious plan. Similarly, our exports, which this year will cross $400 billion, even in the month of February until the 21st, we are at $25 billion. Very confident that we'll close the month again with $30 billion plus. So that will be the 11th month. Every month in this year, from April till now, so far till January, hopefully the next two also, we would have created a record in the history of India's exports. Every month is a record export. Collectively, of course, it will be a historical achievement to cross 400 billion in merchandise exports. But then services are also growing extremely fast. I had estimated services to cross 225. Then I reset it to 240. I have now reset my services expectation to $250 billion. Within a year, the target has undergone 2 revisions. That's the strength of services. I was thinking in my mind that looking at the growth on both sides, services will catch up faster. And by 2030, India should aspire for $1 trillion of merchandise exports and $1 trillion of services exports. I just hope they don't catch up with manufacturing faster than that. I'm happy with services exports, but I'm trying to encourage you to be more bold and ambitious in your plans and make sure that you grow simultaneously so that we don't see a situation where services overtakes manufacturing. And as leaders of our manufacturing sector, particularly Baba Kalyani and Vikram Kirloskar are here, I'm venturing to throw the gauntlet of this challenge that we should and must promote manufacturing export from India so that we don't land up in a very, very unfortunate for the manufacturing sector, good for the country, but very unfortunate for the manufacturing sector if services were to overtake us. So let's aim for $1 trillion plus by 2030. Let's keep watching the services figure and resetting our target should it be required. But make sure the preeminent position of merchandise export in the country is not compromised. Make in India, invest in India, making in India a manufacturing powerhouse. You've all heard that before. We have outstanding FDI inflows coming into the country. Today, we are the second largest manufacturer of mobile handsets in the world. We are a large auto manufacturer, amongst the largest in the world. We now need to replicate these successes in other areas, newer areas, and become global champions. I think India needs to focus on our edge in global competition. And by edge, I'm referring to economies of scale, D for demographic dividend, G, the governments and industries focus on quality, and E, efficiency. Efficiency in cost, in output, productivity, all of that. Government can support with good governance, but quality will have to come from you. So if we can all work together to give our industry an edge, then brand India will naturally emerge. People will start respecting products and associating products made in India with the brand India. And that needs the mindset change, the focus on quality and productivity that I've been talking of on so many engagements with all the friends here. We'll have to also move from compliance of quality to the consciousness that good quality matters and should be our prima focus. Manufacturing sector, as you are all aware, is at the forefront of creating jobs and is the growth driver of India's economy. Services rests on the manufacturing sector. And therefore, you have the power to take the country to prosperity. You have the power to lift the millions out of poverty. You have the power to give a better quality of life to the underprivileged. I think together we can create not lakhs but crores of jobs, jobs in the textile sector, plastics, footwear, auto components. I can keep sports goods, agri, food processing. There's so many sectors where labor is an important element of cost. That's our competitive or comparative advantage that we should leverage. Government will make it easier to do business, will focus on governance in a non-interfering or non-adversarial manner. Our startups are doing us proud, championing India's technology story, fearlessly chasing opportunities across so many verticals like EdTech, FinTech, HealthTech, AgriTech, In fact, I don't know if you saw yesterday, I shared with everybody, we've had 10 unicorns in calendar 2022. 53 days, 53 days and 10 unicorns, which, as I said yesterday, was the singing sensation from Birbhum in West Bengal. Our Kacha Badam became a Pakka Badam only yesterday. And I think before me, I have 731 potential, not just Badams, but Badam ki Barfi. So that's what we need to see happening in the days to come. The current budget has only reinforced our commitment towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. We are confident that together we can. Together we can move mountains. Together we can certainly achieve outstanding results, right from sectoral growth in manufacturing, to sustainability, to modernization, to engaging with the best in the world, to making it easier to do business, to reducing compliances, to getting your approvals faster and sitting at home. All of these things collectively will help businesses play a huge role in ensuring a prosperous superpower, economic superpower that the world sees as India's true potential. We have to grab this opportunity. For all of you on this call, ladies and gentlemen, I have 3 suggestions. One, I would like to encourage big companies to integrate MSMEs, both forward and backward linkages, and ensure timely payments. If possible, prepay MSMEs. You can take a cash discount for prepaying them, but help them with faster cash flow for their growth, apart from whatever the banks are doing. 2, I think there is a need for shared responsibility amongst companies to address social and environmental challenges and support each other in domestic manufacturing. And look at Korea, they just don't allow an Indian steel manufacturer to export to Korea. That's the nationalistic spirit there. Japanese companies don't allow Indian steel in Japan. They'll buy $100 a ton costlier steel, but local Japanese steel. Many of you may have faced such barriers which are not government barriers, where I can't even fight G2G. But it comes out of the spirit of nationalism. I think we in India also should look at ways and means to support each other, encourage each other, and promote our own domestic brothers and sisters. And number 3, we need to inculcate and train young minds to get into manufacturing. Maybe internships or apprentice training in your companies. Encourage innovation, help people think out of the box. So many possibilities. We saw the drone show by a startup involving over 1,000 drones at the Beating the Retreat ceremony in New Delhi, and truly makes one's heart swell with pride at the achievements of our young entrepreneurs. As Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, former Prime Minister, and someone who mentored me right from childhood, had once put it, and I quote, India has the sanction of her own past glory and future vision to become strong in every sense of the term. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all come together to make India stronger in every sense: political, geopolitical, economic, social, in every way, by taking bigger and bolder steps every single day. Thank you very much for this opportunity to engage with all of you. I wish CII and all of you participants all the very best, and I'm sure we'll get many recommendations emerging out of your program. I was seeing the different sessions that you have. They truly are very exciting. And I'm confident that will lead to a number of good ideas that you will have for us in government to follow and implement. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Piyush. And your three suggestions were very, very valuable. Plus the points you made on the single window issue, as well as manufacturing staying ahead of services and export and all the other points. I will certainly get back to you on the single window issues. I will follow that up, sir. May I now request Sanjay Kapoor to give his closing remarks.
Thank you, Vikram. Shri Piyush Goyal, Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry, Textiles, Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Mr. Vikram Kirloskar, Chairman CII Manufacturing Council and Vice Chairman Toyota Kirloskar Motor, distinguished guests from the industry, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister, thank you for joining us today and sharing your valuable insight and for always guiding us and steering the Indian manufacturing sector towards the right growth path. You rightly talked about the need for self-confidence, our need for innovation, modernization, technology, and specifically self-reliance in critical components and critical areas, specifically semiconductors. And you're absolutely right in our endeavor and how private sector must invest in technology to take this forward. It is clear that a robust manufacturing sector has a potential to become the most important building block for India's development journey in the coming decade. Not only is it expected to substantially to economic growth, to help economic growth and prosperity, it is also likely to generate huge employment opportunities for India's population, as mentioned by you as well. Over the last 2 years, the COVID-19 pandemic has severely disrupted economic and other activities with consequences for society, businesses, consumers, and the global economy. In the face of such grave uncertainty, the Indian manufacturing sector has shown extraordinary resilience and undertaken measures to turn a crisis into an opportunity and emerge stronger than ever before. The government's support, be it in the form of economic relief, policy measures, fiscal stimulus, and structural reforms, has been invaluable in the strong revival of the sector and clearly indicates the focus being accorded to the Indian manufacturing sector as an important growth instrument. This is also reflected in the latest union budget, which outlines several initiatives to promote a healthy and economic ecosystem for the growth of manufacturing sector in the country, as well as the PLI schemes that have been announced. Today's conclave aims to facilitate a deep dive into the manufacturing sector and develop strategies to position India as a global manufacturing hub in the next few years. We've had an excellent first session in building business resilience with experts from across industries and relevant stakeholders. We have 2 more exciting sessions, as you mentioned, on environment and sustainability, which is definitely becoming an extremely important topic in today's environment, and developing competitiveness as a scale. Again, very important for us to develop India as a hub for global hub for manufacturing. I'm certain that you will find these discussions informative and engaging, and I would urge all the participants to please stay on and listen to the sessions. And with this, we've come to the end of the inaugural session, and I'd like to thank all of you. Thank you, Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We are going to change our link for the next session.
The next session will be on sustainability. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good luck.
Thanks.